Yeah. So in terms of the what's it called, the Transformers one, there are no single player enemy games by Flame Hunter. Bro, absolutely. Bro,
You ever look at all the hot new
like I've heard a few people say this, like, and it's so dumb, bro. So dumb. Like, uh, let, let me talk about my past for a second. So I got into gacha games in like what I think 20 2016. I think I'm not too sure on the date, but it was around the time Arknights came to global. I think it was during that same year it came out that I got into to gacha games. And the reason why I got into gacha games is because I've been an anime fan for a while, for a while at that point already. And I wanted to play some anime games, but I didn't have a console. And like like pretty much all the good anime games were on a console, and I didn't have a good PC either. So like, if like I couldn't play like much games. So like I'm like, oh, browsing on my phone, or to like download a new game. I have like completed Vector, all those quoted original mobile games. I'm like, yeah, I want something new to play. They say, oh, anime game. So yeah, that's how it was for me. But basically, my point is, yes, there's anime games, but there's been anime games for years. Me personally, I just couldn't access them because I didn't have a console and I didn't have a PC that could like play them or even emulate them. And then you got people here that are basically they play only the popular stuff, and they're like, oh, there's no anime games, bro. There's so many anime games. What are you talking about?
You ever look at all the hot new anime game releases and think to yourself, why are all of these multiplayer games? I used to think that. I used to think we need more single player games. We need more games like Dragon Ball Kakarot.
Yeah, you just didn't look inside, bro. It's like the same people that say every anime is like has like a ton of fan service. Meanwhile, there's a bunch of anime that do not have fan service. You're just not looking for them. You're just watching whatever's popular.
Well, it certainly can feel like the only anime games releasing are these multiplayer focused fighting games. If you look hard enough, there are actually a lot of single player anime games out there. And when you start to
Yeah.
look deeper into it, I don't think the debate is about single player versus multiplayer games. The reason why so many people feel this sentiment comes down to IP popularity and game quality itself. Let's start by discussing the simple fact of the matter. What single player
Mm, IP popularity. Yeah, true with the IP popularity. Like most of the great anime games are like originals. They're not like IP based. Like the only few like in terms of let me say in terms of like old anime games, the the really good ones that are IP based are like very few. Like Dragon Ball Tenkaichi Budokai 3. Yeah, remember that? Then there was a specific Naruto game. I don't remember the name of it. Or was it a ship? I'm not sure. I never played it. I need to play it one day, but there was this specific Naruto game like that I've been told is like really good. But yet there was very few like IP based anime games that were really good. Most of the good ones were originals. And then what was the other point? Quality. Nah, I disagree with that one. There was a lot of quality. If you take out the IP based ones, then yeah, there was a lot of quality. Um, what's it called? Original anime games. Yeah.
games have released recently versus Let's start by discussing the simple fact of the matter. What single player games have released recently versus multiplayer games that released recently? Because while it may feel like only multiplayer games are being released, this simply isn't true. First, we'll take a look at
Yep.
infamous anime game publisher Bandai Namco's output. In the last 8 years, from
Yeah,
January
yeah.
2018
They've made so many good single player anime games just by themselves.
to February 2026, Bandai Namco has published 22 multiplayer focused games compared to 22 single player focused games, which may
Yeah,
come as
is
a
that
shock to
equal?
a lot of you. For context, this isn't including Japanese exclusive or mobile games. This also
What's a shock to me is that it was exactly the same. Like not 23, 21 or something, just 22, 22. I think they planned it. Like let's really release half single player games, half multiplayer games.
only includes anime. For context, this isn't including Japanese exclusive or mobile games. This also
Hmm.
only includes anime licensed games, specifically franchises that
Oh,
originated
okay.
from an anime or manga, not simply a video game with an anime art style. Now there is some
Mm,
nuance to what classifies a game as single player versus multiplayer focused. My criteria mainly comes down to genre and marketing. If the game is a fighting game, then I classify it as multiplayer focused. It may
yeah,
offer single player content, but does not make it a single player focused game. More often
true.
than not, this
True.
single player content, like story modes, will feel like an afterthought as if developers only
Yeah,
included it out of obligation, not because it was their core focus. This also applies to other team based games such as Shinobi Striker. Sure, it offers single player content, but Bandai Namco's marketing clearly labels it as a multiplayer focused experience. And after these
yeah, true.
explanations, it might be a surprise that the number of multiplayer games is equal to that of single player games. Well, if you're only following major mainstream franchises, then it certainly will be a surprise. But if you're a fan
Yeah,
of non mainstream franchises, then this really shouldn't be all too shocking. Most anime games
exactly.
based
I'm not
on
shocked at
mainstream
all.
series that general audiences know tend to be multiplayer focused, as opposed to non mainstream anime series receiving single player focused games. Dragon Ball, My Hero Academia, and Jujutsu Kaisen are all big hit shonen franchises that even many non anime fans know about, and they're also series that consistently get multiplayer games. But you know what anime
Mm.
series receives single player games from Bandai Namco? Little Witch Academia, Captain Tsubasa, That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, most of which are series that get you
I,
weird
I,
looks if you try
I didn't even know Little Witch and Slime got a single player game. I'll check those ones out.
That
I know this one. I know the soccer one.
Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, most of which are series that get you weird looks if you tried to explain them.
Yeah.
Trust me, I would know. This is a character I'm not sure any of you might know. The character's name is Rimuru Tempest from That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime,
What
the anime.
Absolutely great anime. Give it a try.
the hell did I
There's got to
just
be something on the
listen to?
soundboard for that.
Play sound, man.
No, no, not that.
To be fair, Dragon Ball has received both, with Kakarot being the standout single player game, but we'll touch on that
Yeah.
later. Looking beyond Bandai Namco reflects this sentiment as well. Sega got the rights to Demon Slayer, the franchise behind the highest grossing anime movie of all time, and published both the Hinokami Chronicles fighting games and the Sweep the Board party game. But other franchises across various publishers have received mainly single player games. The Fairy Tail RPGs, the Fairy Tail Dungeon Crawler, the Fairy Tail Volleyball game. This whole line
Sam, I only know the Fairy Tail RPG. Actually, like I need to actually research these games and see which ones are worth playing. I watched like a little gameplay of the Fairy Tail one that I haven't looked into like in much of it
is just really funny
really.
to me. Fist of the North Star, Dungeon Crawler, the Fairy Tail Volleyball game. This whole lineup is just really funny to me. Fist of the North Star, Yuru Camp got a VR game for some reason, and not to
Yeah,
mention the number of anime franchises that get visual novel games, like
yeah.
Konosuba or ReZero. Of course, there are exceptions to every rule, but there is undeniably a pattern here to notice. So why does this pattern exist? There are a couple of reasons. For one, only a mainstream anime would have the audience needed for a multiplayer game's player base to last. When we look at a game
Yeah,
like Kill la Kill If, admittedly it did have a number of problems behind the scenes, but could never even garner a meaningful player base in the first place, and quickly
yeah,
fell
which
into
is sad because like I really like the Kill la Kill anime, but I never got the game because I'm like there's not much people playing it. Like I like both Kill la Kill and I like fighting games, but it wasn't worth a purchase for me because like they weren't really that many people playing. So it'll just be another fighting game. Even that's a major problem I've been having with fighting games. Like I have a whole list of fighting games on my Steam, but most of them barely have people playing, so I'll be waiting queuing there, and then they all lack single player content. Well, most of them lack single player content. So like sometimes I feel like I just wasted my money, bro. Because like I could have had like a single player game I could play for like 50 hours, but no, I got this game instead that I can't even play because no one's online.
behind the scenes, but could never even garner a meaningful player base in the first place and quickly fell into obscurity. Its anime first aired
Yeah,
in 2015, and the If game didn't release until 4 years later in 2019, which by then the
yeah,
franchise wasn't nearly as relevant anymore. So even though Kill la Kill If was a very good fighting game, no one really took notice. I can't imagine a game like Ultra Rumble or Shinobi Striker being able to survive as long as these games have if they were tied to a lesser known franchise like Cran
mm.
Shin-chan. That's a bad example, but you get my point. But also looking in terms
Nah,
of
that's a great
genre, these
example.
mainstream anime, which more often than not happen to be battle shonen, just lend themselves well to these types of games. Dragon Ball,
Yeah,
Naruto, My Hero Academia, series like these revolve around fighting and action, so they translate well to PvP focused games. And we've even seen publishers try their hand with these franchises at single player experiences. One Piece's last two games were an RPG and an open world action game, which makes sense.
yeah. One Piece Odyssey. I saw a bit of gameplay on that. Wait, was it Odyssey or World Seeker? It was one of them. I forgot to check.
Experiences. One Piece's last two games were an RPG and an open world action game, which makes sense considering the series' focus
I
on
think it was actually
adventure and
World
world building.
Seeker.
Dragon Ball Kakarot
Yeah.
is another example, adapting the story of Dragon Ball Z to a single player action adventure game. However, these games do tend to be the exception and not the norm. So why do
Yeah.
games like Cursed Clash and A Hero Nobody Knows keep releasing even though arguably other genres might fit these series better? Well, the business model of these types of games seems much more appealing than that of a single player game. Usually with a single
Mm,
player game, it's a one and done. You beat the story mode and that's it. You're done with the game. But multiplayer games can last much longer. They can garner player bases with thousands of players. With an active player base comes more money. Fighting games especially have an easy DLC model. Release the game and
yeah.
keep it relevant by releasing paid DLC characters every few months. Sure, you can try this
That's how
model
it
with a
goes.
single player game. I think that's kind of dumb, but sure, you can
Yeah,
try
that's
it.
stupid.
Now, that's not to say that releasing a multiplayer game is easy, it's really the contrary. Developers have to now consider things like balancing and netcode. It's a much more strenuous investment, but it can yield better results, which is why a publisher would be more inclined to take that risk with a popular franchise rather than with a niche one. But what approach is better? Should all mainstream games be multiplayer, or do we need more releases like Kakarot? Well, these questions, they miss the real point. We've been debating about the wrong thing the entire time. It's impossible to say whether single player games are better than multiplayer games and vice versa. There's just no objective answer to that. You can have preferences, sure. Personally, for me, I prefer single player games. As a pretty busy
Same.
guy, it's very difficult for me to get really into a multiplayer game. You need to stay on top of the meta and patch notes and updates. The last multiplayer game I got really invested in was Marvel Rivals, and that was already over a year ago. As for all of you
Mm.
out there, I put a poll up on my community tab, and single player won with an overwhelming majority of 77%. And I wonder if this sentiment is simply based on the perception that anime games tend to have. It feels like a lot of people out there believe that every new anime game is an arena fighter, which just isn't true. While a lot of them are, there are a lot of games out there beyond just the major mainstream releases. Ideally,
Yeah.
a game would have good single player and multiplayer capabilities. A fighting game, for example, should have online that runs well and is balanced, while also providing a worthwhile single player experience with content like story modes or arcade modes. But we don't live in a perfect world, and obviously not every game can afford to do that. I think what it comes down to is that the conversation shouldn't be, we need more single player games. We shouldn't be arguing about whether single player games or multiplayer games are better. We should be advocating for just more good games. Take Kakarot for
Yeah.
example, a large,
Exactly.
big budget, single player release, and it does fairly well critically. But even it still falls prey to that over monetized DLC model. Bandai has released 7 different story packs for this game. Diamond's portion was
Jeez,
split in two, charging $20 for each part. That is ridiculous.
bruh.
Remember those
Yeah.
two One Piece games I mentioned before? Both have pretty mixed, if not just negative reviews. Even a lot of those smaller single player releases don't have the best receptions either, like The Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, Captain
Mm.
Tsubasa. You can certainly have a preference for single player or multiplayer games, I know I do, but when a game is good, I don't think it really matters. If a
Yeah.
multiplayer game is good, then I can still enjoy it without having to religiously study the meta. If a single player game is good, then I can beat the game and feel satisfied without needing more. That's what we should really be asking for. There's room for both single player and multiplayer anime games. With enough creativity, a lot of series and genres can
Hey,
fit
what's
both
up?
approaches. So
Just noticed the chat. What's going on?
instead of asking, can this anime get a single player game? Can this anime get a multiplayer game? We should be asking, can this anime just get a good game?
Yeah, that's what I want. So a good game. Yeah, it doesn't really matter with the online versus offline. Just give me a great game. That's all I want. Yeah, just chilling. Yeah, I'm just watching some videos. With better anime games, especially with different genres that fit. Yeah, I agree. You found a cute VTuber model, so stop to say hi. To say, wait, I read that wrong. Found a cute VTuber model, so stop to say, yeah, I don't think you finished your sentence, but thanks. Yeah, say hi. Yeah, that's what I assume. My brain just read that just brought that immediately without it being there. Yeah, thanks for coming. Well, mm, uh, which one do I want to watch next? Mm, no, I already watched this one. Don't need that one there. Uh, I kind of. I made the well, yeah, you could say that. I made the model using what's it called, Viroid Studio. They kind of have this pre-model thing, and then you can like customize the model yourself. They even like let you do like painting and stuff. So yeah, I I pretty much made the model, but like a lot of the stuff was already in there. How customizing really. Mm, or I don't know which one to watch. Oh, this one interesting. Oh, mm. So what are your plans getting on a custom model? Could you? Uh, yeah, I will have a